Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Endless Celts Podcast. And as you can see, it's a bit empty at Endless Celts headquarters this evening. I mean, Phil, we can talk about why. Oh, the Bhoycie Bus and their live event at the Bullfrog. If three of our people went, Ross, William, and Tony, it was a great night. But I'm joined by Phil McGinlay, who's kindly stepped in the void, and I'm excited to chat to him. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm absolutely fine. I'm the only Bhoycie Bus member that stuck his head above the parapet today. I was having a wee drink last night. I'm quite sensible. I know when enough's enough, but some of my teammates disappeared into the night to the early hours of the morning. I believe there might have been a wee pool game between Endless Celts, Ross Muir and Russell Boyce that was getting played at God knows what time. I've seen pictures of that doing the rounds today, but yeah, it was a fun night, and I need to pass on my thanks to the members of the Endless Celts, Tony, William and Ross, that all turned up. That was a really nice surprise, but Russell did ask me to pass on the message that Francis is still his favourite in the Endless Celts, guys. I've passed that one on. And anyone as well in the comments that did come, because there was a few people last night that are in the comments of both Endless Celts and the Bhoycie Bus, and yeah, my head was spinning at points. So I was trying to remember everybody's name, but it was weird. People kept going, "Oh, I'm Gary Brown" and stuff like that. I know you from the comments. Oh my god, I was excited to meet them as much as they went to meet me. So it was a phenomenal night. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
I looked amazing. The pictures that were sent in the group chat was incredible. Like the group photos, especially all together, just getting on and having fun. I think Ross said in the chat he won the pool. We haven't heard from Russell yet, so we'll have to wait and see. And in terms of the chance we have,
on that one as well.
Craig White-Ladden's in, Kenny McCardle, Ryan Kelly, Gary Greer, Patrick McLaughlin, Alistair Jack. Thanks for coming on the Hangover Celts. I think that's probably about right, to be fair, Alistair. Like, I mean, to be fair, Russell Boyce had his first live event in the Bullfrog, and it all seemed to go well. Fantastic crowd turned up. So if you're in the comments, make yourself known. It'd be great to hear your thoughts as well. And Phil, I'm sure you'll like to hear from him too. But we'll crack on and go straight into Flag Day. I mean, that's what we're all here for, to talk about the Celts being back at Paradise, and what a wonderful surface finally the Celtic Park have. It looked just like a carpet instead of all that grainy, sort of sandy look, but it was beautiful to see. First of all, though, what about that display from the Green Brigade? You won't get that much places in Europe, like.
No, especially on opening day of the season, it was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the atmosphere from the get-go was amazing. Before the game, Liam McGrandles sang a few songs. I mean, the rendition he did of Grace was thunderous with the noise from the crowd singing along with it. It just set the tone, and yeah, that display was phenomenal. I mean, it's up there on a par with the famous one against Barcelona. We done it again, I believe, against it was we completed the Invincible treble season, didn't we? We did one as well. It was a full stadium display, but that was superb. Because I'm in the Lower Jockstein stand at 139, and I was looking across to the Lisbon Lions stand, and they had the trophy. It was like the trophy.
That was beautiful.
But it was the banners that they had, or the ribbons that they had coming down from the top tier that made it look like the green and white ribbons. I was like, that's really clever, because it was unraveling, and I was like, I have a feeling it's going to be a trophy. And then when it all came together, I was like, that's superb. But when you're a player and you walk out in front of that, how can you not just be like so fired up and inspired? It must really imagine putting yourself in their shoes for a few minutes and just walking out there and being like, wow, guys like Joe Hart will be like, I know I've made the right choice coming to this club, and so it was amazing, absolutely amazing day, and that was just a phenomenal sight.
I think Joe Hart even alluded to himself in the Instagram post he put up, saying that it was first Flag Day experience and it was special. I mean, these players have played at the top level. He was number one for England, and you got him coming up saying that when he's been in grounds in England. He's probably experienced different atmospheres, and Celtic obviously rank, and deservedly so, the best atmosphere he's played in. I mean, Ryan Taylor comes in here, best fans in the world, 100%. You can't really deny that. And then you get the other fans across the city putting up tweets comparing their it's like, come on, take a walk. Time to let it go. Do you know what I mean? Like, and when I first seen what the Green Brigade were doing, obviously they were raising funds for it. You're kind of wondering an expectation what it's going to be, and they always, no matter, like, people obviously disagree with them sometimes and disagree with what way they sing or what way they get on. But see, when they do them displays, they're unrivaled. Especially for me in UK football, and we're unrivaled. Obviously, you have the Polish fans who do like the 3D ones and stuff up there, class too. But in terms of what we're seeing yesterday, it was absolutely incredible. And another flag raise, Phil, 10 and 11 seasons. It's just becoming a normal thing, isn't it? Callum McGregor, first Flag Day as captain. What a guy.
Although if you ask certain journalists here, apparently it's a pass the parcel. That's not how it works, really. That would mean back and forth, but not 10 titles out of 11. It's absolute dominance. It's a ridiculous quote. But again, that was all just for clickbait, I think, and for selling a few newspapers. But yeah, Callum McGregor, I think he was the right choice as well to unfurl the flag, because usually we'll wheel in maybe a famous Celtic fan, a former player, some sort of emotional connection to the club. But no, I thought it was a good moment just to keep it simple. The club captain unfurls the flag, the guy that led us to it, because it was a big deal for him to get the captain's armband last year. There was so much about, Scott Brown, that's big boots to fill. Can Callum McGregor get it? Has he got it in him to do it? And yeah, more than enough. So yeah, it was a really good moment for McGregor to get that chance. So I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Even as well, Kenny's right here, absolutely brilliant day, still buzzing. I was like a kid on Christmas Eve. I couldn't wait for the match. Me and my granddad were buzzing watching it as well. And in terms of, obviously, you look at Callum McGregor, even when he was getting the whole debate around who should be captain when Brown left, and there was people mentioning like Julian, how far back in the thoughts is he now? And it was everyone. It seemed like for a wee while it was everyone but Callum McGregor, wasn't it? It seemed like everyone had a choice or a preference, but the guy just walked in, he's took it. Yes, he's not the captain where he's going to shout off or he's going to mouth at people, but you can see him. He leads from the front. It's the way he gets on the pitch. He drags the team forward, and them when it shows you the footage of the huddle. I don't know if you've seen it. He's right into the players, like he's telling them, gets his message across, and I think it's brilliant. And then you move into the game, and everything's surrounding it, and Postecoglou kind of reflecting again on what he's done in his first season. Straight away, Welsh in with a set piece goal, and I think I've seen Hamish McCartan from 67 Hill say that was her first direct goal from a set piece since Barcelona.
Well, that was brought up last night, funny enough, and right away, instantly my spider sense was tingling, and I was like, no, wait a minute. And a few people did shout, a couple, like one that comes to mind right away is Christopher Julian scoring against Lazio. I think it was a tongue-in-cheek one, because a few people below had commented and were like, no, that's not right. And then people posting the wee gif with like joke going over somebody's head. I keep just demonstrating it's been that bloody long since.
Well, it's been over my head.
It's funny, mate, don't worry. But no, it's still weird because we don't score them that often. We really don't. So it was a good feeling, because I'm not a huge fan of short corners. Like, I always feel if you're going to do a short corner, it should be because you've got something that you've rehearsed, a real good set piece move. Yep. And a lot of the time we play a short corner and it usually amounts to absolutely nothing. So I'm kind of like, well, what was the point in that? It's the same way like the free kicks that we do sometimes, where we stand, like three players will stand over the ball and have like a wee confab with each other with the whole covered in the mouth to not show the opposition what they're saying. And I'm like, okay, they're planning something here. And then they'll just either blaze it over the bar or hit the wall. And I'm like, what's the point in that? So when it comes to set pieces, I'm not a big fan of just fanning around. I just want them to just get it in the box. Yeah. And yeah, it was a really nice feeling to just see a corner just flighted in, nice wee glancing header. And yeah, Stevie Welsh, he's he's quite a controversial, divisive man in the starting 11 and the build up to it. But my opinion's always been the same regarding him. He's not outstanding. I don't think he's terrible. He's just very adequate, I think, for SPL level. He'll always do a job, and I think there's enough around him if he does make a mistake to protect him. But there was a few slack moments for him when you think, well, if that was a European game, if that was a PSG or a Real Madrid, it's curtains. So he did enough to get away with it. But yeah, good for the lad anyway. Good for his confidence as well. And we made a joke as well in the Bhoycie Bus chat as he ran away celebrating. He was pointing, we're saying he's pointing at Mark Kearney, saying, that's for you, slagging me off, Mark Kearney.
the judge like an executioner, Mark Kearney. And then Egyptian King, I mean, he's been watching the whole game here. He was watching coaching staff. Anyone noticed we Gavin Strachan's new haircut? I think we all did, to be fair. He looked quite fresh. But you're speaking about, obviously, Stephen Wilson. I think Anthony Joseph confirmed today that the Toulouse. See, I was going to say that name wrong again. I would get absolutely done in by the guys in the podcast. But Toulouse, they've dropped their interest. And it seems like, from a Postecoglou said, he's going to be fighting for his place. It's going to be quite interesting, isn't it, between him, Gents and Starfelt? Where do you see it going in this early days? Anyway, obviously, Welsh he's got his goal. He's not done much wrong at the minute. Like,
I state a claim, and that's a good thing for the team, good thing for Angelo. They're the headaches you want the manager to have. I think fans can be guilty sometimes of overthinking it. At the end of the day, the manager will be happy that if all the players are performing, because a lot of fans will be like, how are you going to keep this player happy? And what about this? And it's like, I think sometimes they're playing too much Football Manager or FIFA, and it's like, don't worry about stuff like that. Just leave it to the manager. Say the players themselves they like that competition. It drives them on to be better. So yeah, Stephen Welsh has done nothing wrong. I do think once Starfelt is fit and up to fitness again, he probably will come back in. But at the time being, if Welsh is performing, and obviously if Jens turns out to be quite good, say we linked him last year, we brought him in with an option to buy, you've got to imagine he's going to get some game time, and it won't just be the occasional League Cup game against like a lower league opposition. So I'd like to think that he's going to get a wee bit of rotating, but I do fully expect once Starfelt is back up to fitness, he will be in there with Carter Vickers again, because the record speaks for itself, Stephen. Look at last year. They didn't lose a league game when they were paired up. But yeah, if he's got strong options to rotate in and out when there's injuries and suspensions, then all the better. So you've got to consider as well, Carter Vickers might not be fit all season. There could be an injury to him somewhere along the line. So if Welsh and that are ready to go and performing, then good for the club.
Yeah, 100%. I think Ryan Taylor comes in with a good point. I'm all for Welsh saying he's good enough and fighting for a place. I mean, as a youngster, get through the ranks of Celtic, we're all for that. We're all for homegrown talent. If he stays and proves his fitness and he proves his worth, then he'll get in the team. Postacoglu will be that clear. And it kind of comes back to the whole, like, first match day squad, you're looking at the subs, you're quite intrigued to see who makes the bench, and there's no Julian. Funny enough. Do you know what I mean? I've been banging that drum. He's on his way. To think that was the final nail in the coffin. He'll be away.
I think so. I think now that we've got Jens in, because when I was on a few weeks ago, we were still in that period where we didn't have another centre back in. Julian had started like the first pre-season game. It was like that whole, right, if Starfelt's no fit, who would you rather go with? And obviously that was only the start of the pre-season game, so you thought, well, if Julian plays a few games, I would go with Julian. But obviously the games that he played in that, there was a few up and down moments, and it looks quite clear now that, yeah, he's heading out at the nearest possible convenience. And good luck to guys. I've got no hard feelings against him. It's just no worked out under Ange. Just some players aren't cut out for certain systems and certain styles of play. Doesn't take away from the fact he is still a good centre back. But no, but with Welsh, I say Welsh is obviously status claim, and Ange clearly sees a lot in him. So it's that whole thing, as you say, being a youngster coming through at Celtic, it's something we all dream of. So we can all relate to it. You know, it's like you want to see a young lad do well that's came through the ranks. So good on him. So there's a lot of strong options there. So it's quite nice to not have any defensive worries, especially in previous years when at this time of the year we'd be playing a Champions League qualifier in the middle of nowhere, probably in Europe, and Near Beaton might need to step up if we had any defensive injuries. So it's quite good to be clear of all of that this year. Calm, we're okay.
100%. Egyptian King comes in, our bench is strong, which is brilliant to see. And then we all wrote, this is a great point again by Ryan, we all wrote Ralston off. Welsh has the balls to fight, and good on him. Again, I totally agree. And the come back to the Julian thing, I mean, I would say people fought, but people did think I was like getting at him and saying he wasn't a good player. I was just pointing out, you can see Ange has a system.
Yep.
If a player doesn't fit in that particular system, he won't be there. There's no doubting he's a quality defender. I mean, Russell Bhoycie, he'll always allude to the fact that he has a friend within French journalism, and he told him he was one of the best players in the league in terms of a defender, and he should make the step up quite easy in the Scottish League, and he did. But unfortunately, do you know what I mean? It changes, system changes, and sometimes you just have to cut your losses and off you go. And best of luck to him. He's been a great servant to the club, albeit that injury kind of curtailed him. But final goals in the League Cup final against Lazio. Do you know what I mean? So he's played a pivotal role at Celtic Football Club. And you look at the performance in the first half, and obviously I still want to talk about a few players, but just going to the performance itself, there was a few opportunities in that game. Postacoglu, by all accounts, was raging with the first half performance in terms of wasteful opportunities, and Aberdeen came back into it slightly towards the end of the half. And now, this is the kind of meat of it, isn't it? Are we being negative here, or we're just pointing out realism, right? Because there was times when Aberdeen got the ball, and it was Carter Vickers and Welsh down there by themselves defending against free opposition players. You're not going to get away with that in Europe.
Definitely is. There was one in particular, I remember, it was Joe Hart and Stevie Welsh seemed to be going for the same ball, and there was a wee bit of a mix-up there. Hart scooped up in the end, but you could see there was a bit of hesitance there. Maybe it's because Welsh has been playing regular, just a bit of communication. Maybe Hart didn't sort of command the situation better, because the goalkeeper needs to take charge in these situations. Yeah. Then there was another one as well, where I think it was Welsh again got caught out, and Aberdeen were able to stick a ball across the face of the goal, but nobody got in the end of it. And it was like, again, if that's a European game against a top level opposition, which we're going to play, you're worried that we're going to get caught out there. But I say that's fine. But in terms of like the actual performance, one of the things that frustrated me, and I think Ange said that as well again about the wasteful stuff, there was so many moments again where you just feel like they're trying to pass the ball in the net.
Yes.
There was one in particular about 5 minutes before half time. It was a whole series of play, and it seemed to open up for lots of people on the edge of the area. like different midfielders. And I remember it came to McGregor, and again, you're like, shoot. And he tried to pass a ball through, I think, Jota or Kyogo, and it got flagged offside in the end, even though we stuck it in the net and it was offside. But from where I'm sitting, again, looking right down the park, there's so many moments where you can see the gap opens up, and it's just like, oh, somebody just shoot. But it was always like, pass, keep passing it, try walk it into the net, and you're just like, there's going to come a day, right, where we're not going to have any luck in front of goal, and all this try to score the perfect goal and pass it in the net won't pay off. So it's like, you've got to just sometimes have a pop at goal. Luckily, somebody did, which we'll get on to soon. Finally, somebody did take that initiative. But yeah, that was there was a few frustrating moments, and with the way the first half panned out, you're like, we could easily be about 4-0 up here, 4-0, 5-0. It's only 1-0 at half time. So you start to get that wee edgy feeling at half time. Like, by the way, this better not come back to bite us in the backside. But luckily, we saw it out and got it in the end, man. It was
it's a bit like, remember the Arsenal team back in like 09, the 10, and Cesc Fabregas, like Arshavin, they're always trying to score the perfect individual goal. Wilshere was amongst that as well. And you're like, why don't you just cut all that out and shoot it sometimes? Because you never know. The deflection, come back to the striker, wins the second ball, scores, blah, blah, blah. But it all comes back to it, Phil, doesn't it? I mean, the style of play, like he's always said he's never going to change it. He's never going to. He wants to obviously evolve it and make it better in terms of in a system and stuff. But overall, the structure of it, he wants the players to be relentless and pass the ball at every opportunity. But when you're watching it at 1-0, especially on Flag Day, like you could hear the crowd towards the end of that half getting a wee bit anxious, a wee bit touchy, not getting on the players' backs, but they were noticing mistakes were being made. And I mean, it concerns me because Aberdeen, yes, they've signed some good players. And I mean, that midfielder was decent, the holding midfielder, Ramadani, and then the big striker won a few flick-ons of things, and Hayes was quite impressive, even though he's like 45. He still has a bit of speed. But like, if you're going against like a Madrid, like a Barcelona, I know they're not in it, but you know what I mean? You're going to get punished. Does it concern you a lot that seems to be a trend? Even in pre-season, we were losing silly goals from being in winning positions. So there has to be a bit of improvement in that area to see a game out.
There has to be, because the thing is, some fans may look at it and go, well, you know, we're going to be playing against better teams. Will we make that many chances? Now, Celtic's goal going into this Champions League is realistic. They've got to try and make sure they have some sort of European football after Christmas, because they finished bottom of the group. They're out of Europe. There's no fallaway for finishing fourth. So third place has to be a target. And the team that comes out of the third pot, there are teams in there like Bayer Leverkusen, who we played last year, and despite them beating us 4-0 at Celtic Park, we made a lot of chances that night. A lot. It was an astounding 4-0. And amazingly, that was the night that Ange came away going, yeah, I can see things are starting to click now, and you're like, just going to beat 4-0. So maybe we're playing like the team for the pot one, say we do get, I don't know, Man City or something, yeah, they might absolutely crush us and we don't even get a sniff. But when going up toe-to-toe with the third pot team, you know, we need to take these chances. We need to. And I said we made plenty of chances against Bayer Leverkusen last year, who are deemed a third pot team. So we could be playing a team at that level again. So it's like, sometimes you just got to have a wee pop at goal. But again, when it comes to some manager systems, they don't want you to just waste a shot because it might go over the bar. Then that team's got the ball back and stuff like that. Yeah. But I say I do expect Ange will be quite. People are being a bit too black and white about it, about how your player will always just be gung-ho. I think he will be a bit savvy in it, and it'll just be a case of the players might need to take a wee bit of initiative sometimes instead of going for that crazy pass across goal, back to Joe Hart or something. Just a wee bit of common sense and look for the simple ball. But remember back when they did the mic'd up session when Ange first joined?
Yeah.
And he was saying to all the players, you know, even when you're not involved, you actually are still involved, and he's encouraging them to keep moving. So what you need on nights when we go into these European games is every player needs to keep moving about and give everybody options. If you can see a guy hasn't got a great option, you've got to put yourself in a position to get that ball off of him, because we are going to pass ourselves into trouble in these European games. And I say if we're wasting chances as well, we're just going to come away from it. Say we draw a team like, I don't know who's in the third place, say like Napoli or something, they're in the third pot this year. We could come away and we could add like 8 or 9 chances, but they've ended up beating us like 2-0 or something, and you're just like, deja vu all over again. So I would just need to take those chances when they come up, man. You know, too much passing about.
I think it comes back to the point where it's quite interesting. You say there obviously he might be a bit more savvy in Europe. That's why the whole Aaron Moy signing kind of interests me, even though I don't agree with it. But Moy even alluded to it in his press conference. He played as a defensive 2 sometimes in his career. You could see maybe him and Calmac playing the two holding and O'Reilly in front, just to create that kind of balance between midfield, attack, and defence. So you never know what way he's going to line up. And Paul Deckham's in here. If Welsh and Taylor are starting in the Champions League, we're in trouble. Both great in the SPFL, but we need it better against top opponents. Again, we're going to come on to Greg Taylor because I think it's interesting that Burnaby didn't come off the bench at all yesterday. And then Danny Boy with the left field comment there. I hope this isn't true. See the comment today saying Mason Greenwood to Celtic. Is it shit or what? I hope it is. I hope it is shit.
I hope
I wouldn't want him anywhere near.
It was getting discussed on another pod, shall we say, a pod that's maybe not too fond of the Bhoycie Bus, put it that way. And my dad told me about it because he saw it, and I went, wait, he was saying Mason somebody, and I went, don't tell me Mason Greenwood. He went, aye, the one that plays for Man U, and I went, it better not be him. And that turns out that's who they were talking about, and I was like, that's got to be nonsense. I mean, what happened to him last year with, abusing his girlfriend and stuff like that? And I'm like, no, that's a no-go. Celtic should be hopefully that's nonsense.
Hopefully, right there. I mean, if they're discussing it in other pods in their ITK, they can all get the fuck as well, because that should never happen to Celtic Football Club. Egyptian King, Alan Ciceri took no shit, even when he was interviewed after the game, said we were still sluggy and need to cut that out. Perfect point, what we're coming on to now. Egyptian King, Phil, I mean, among the victory, and we'll talk about Jota here, he actually criticised Jota a bit. He said he was one of the main culprits in terms of not taking the game by the scruff of the neck, wasting opportunities, wasting passes, and then he comes up with a 35-yard screamer. What type of player is this guy? Incredible. Like,
mate, I sit and say low jogs. He had the perfect eye line for that when he cuts across the box. And again, everyone's shouting, somebody shoot, because again, we've had a frustrating day when nobody's taking that initiative. And yeah, he just lashed it. And as soon as it left his foot, as I say, I'm looking at it, it's basically, if there's no net there, it's coming straight at me where I'm sitting, like it's heading right towards me. And it was like, you could just see that's going right in the top corner. My God, what an explosion in the crowd, like the noise when that hit the back of the net. It was a relief more than anything. Because again, you're just like, there was a few performances last season where we'd go in half time with like a narrow lead in the second half, we'd kind of fall away and the other team would get some chances. So you don't want that creeping back in. So when that second goal went in, you just knew it was game, set, and match. But yeah, there was a few wasteful moments. It wasn't just Jota, but it's interesting that Ange says that. I mean, I'm quite encouraged that he's coming away and saying stuff like that. That's good. That's good. Instead of just going, oh yeah, it was a good performance, and you move on to the next one. It's like you want to see them picking that, and that's really encouraging. That he could see, no, this still isn't what I want it to be. That's not my final vision. So it was good to see, man. Very good to see. But
it was also good. I mean, you look at Jota, and obviously you probably give him a balligan at half time. He didn't huff. Jota didn't come out huffing or sulking or not giving us all. He wanted to prove a point to the manager, and he scored that screamer. He celebrated, and the rest of the game he stayed on the pitch, and the Japanese boys got took off. I think so. Obviously, he came on and proved himself again. So when you get put down by the manager, it's all about your reaction, about how you come back. So that comes back to the point where Postecoglou is signing a personality for the culture of Celtic Football Club. He doesn't want no one who's going to take a hissy fit and hide and want to come off the pitch because he's got a relic. So I mean, he's took it on board. He's went out and made a difference, which is fantastic. And it was quite interesting to see these Benfica loan update sites and Benfica youth sites keep putting his goals up that he scores for Celtic. And I seen one of the comments, obviously Google translating it, and one of their supporters said, I always said he had more potential than Felix, Felix, the guy who went to Madrid. That's quite a statement, isn't it? That's quite a statement.
Yeah, Joe Felix, I was at 123 million euros or something. So we're reporting euros nowadays here in Scotland. That's what it's all about. But some obscene
significant fee.
Yeah, significant fee. Yeah, because Joe Felix had only had like one season at Benfica, and he's going to Atletico Madrid for an obscene amount of money. And you're like, whoa, but yeah, I mean, I'm not on top of Spanish football these days since it left Sky TV a few years ago. So I don't really keep on top. So I don't know exactly how good Felix has been doing out there, but I'd imagine he's probably heading towards the right way, that potential that he's got. But that is still some serious praise, man, to be putting him in that category. Because I did read as well, similar to yourself, where when we did sign Jota for the price we did, there was a lot of Benfica fans weren't too happy that they'd agreed such a low price, essentially. So, man, that's
it's about time Celtic do it to other clubs, isn't it? We've had years of clubs taking our top talent for peanuts. Like look at Stuart Armstrong. I still class him as a player we've hardly replaced. Obviously, you've had and stuff coming in that, but Armstrong was quality, so dynamic. He goes for like 10 million quid. You lose Wanyama, you get peanuts for him. You lose Van Dijk, do you know what I mean? You get peanuts for him. So it's about time that we give a wee bit of a medicine to other big clubs and take their top talents for 6.5 million, by the way. It's still a big fee for us. So to pay that for Jota, and if he has as much potential as Felix, then I think that's a good one. Do you know what I mean?
As,
And then Ryan Taylor, you don't see many players trying to skill like he does. Ronaldo, Neymar, only a few really turn on the style in their youth. Ronaldo was unreal with step overs. Obviously, I mean, it's quite clear to see that Jada models his kind of game on Ronaldo, the way he chops in, chops back and stuff, and it's good to see. Egyptian King, another great point. Did you notice already he was annoyed he had to come off yesterday? It shows these boys want to play as much as they can, and in this style of play, again, they're all enjoying their football. And then Ryan Taylor, this is quite funny. Then we'll notice Gigi grabbing Jada's hair when he was celebrating. Yeah, he just went, bang. It was funny. But speaking about, obviously, Greg Taylor, he's come up a wee bit in the comments here in terms of we being in trouble and stuff if he starts us in European football. He did, by all accounts, get man of the match yesterday, and his stats were quite impressive against Aberdeen. And the commentators were kind of giving him praise left, right, and centre, saying his ball distribution was good. And it looks like he's worked on that quite a lot. He is good at the pass, and he's good at it. Do you know what I mean? It sounds a bit crap when I'm giving all this praise and I'm coming back with a counter argument saying I just don't think he's good enough for that step up. And that's why, for me, I was surprised Burnaby didn't get at least 25 minutes. Was that surprising to you? Just to see what he's made of in the league?
It was a bit, because going into the game, I did think he would start Taylor, and I wasn't really based it on anything in terms of like the ability of him and Burnley. I just thought Ange will just stick to playing it safe essentially for the first game, just stick with what he knows. But yeah, I did think that Burnley would have got a wee bit of a run out, but yeah, it's encouraging to see with Taylor, because he's coming a bit of a whipping boy over the last few years. So under Ange, he's definitely improved massively, because that first couple of years, yeah, he couldn't catch a break. I mean, the amount of times you would notice it as well, when he would come forward to about the halfway line and then he would just kind of about turn and pass it back the way or pass it inside, because he didn't have the sort of like the know-how to go forward and try and get a pace, because his short passing game's actually pretty good, like in terms of just like short range passing. His crossing could still do a bit of work, but the way Ange has them playing with being inverted fullbacks, where they're not really all about getting up and down the line, when he gets in the middle of the park, he had quite a decent game yesterday, and as you say, his distribution was really good. It's like that sort of, they kind of become an auxiliary sort of defensive midfielder by coming in there, just like pick up the ball and pass it out wide or pass it forward to somebody. So, but yeah, I think Taylor, and the thing with Burnley, I've not got much to base it on with Burnley, because we've only just seen a few friendly performances. Naturally, the reaction is we've spent nearly 4 million on a lad from Argentina who, by all accounts, seems to be on the cusp of becoming a regular international. So you'd think, well, surely he must come in and be better right away than Greg Taylor, but it might just take a wee bit of adaptation time for Burnley. And I think the two of them will get game time over the season. I think we'll see a very similar dynamic to what we get with Ralston and Juranovic, where I think Ralston will improve from what he can learn from Juranovic. Taylor will improve from what he can learn from Burnley, and it will keep all of them sharp, because again, it's all about competition, man. So I think we both at the moment are quite a safe hand, and yeah, I can understand the concern again with European stuff. Like, I think a lot of that's just deep rooted in a lot of fans' heads, because we bought him from another SPL club, so it's like, oh no. I mean, Scott Brown got bought from another SPL club years ago and went on to become good. It did take a wee while to get there, but yeah, you just again, it's. I think we'll have a clearer picture, Stephen. Once we see the Champions League draw and we know what's ahead, then we'll have a clear picture, because we'll still have a few days between that draw and the end of the window. Then we might know where we need to get and what for strengthening that. Maybe a few last minute deals, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes with the tail stuff. But overall, I was encouraged by his performance. I thought he did absolutely fine, and by all accounts, was getting man of the match. Yeah, I can't really disagree with that one.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Greg Taylor thing interests me, because a lot of people on the podcast, like Ross and William, they're all big fans. They call him Gregory. That's kind of catched on our podcast. But I look at it from the fact, and I think you're right. It's a wee bit of naivety from myself, thinking we've signed him from Kilmarnock. He's coming to us. Yes, he's improved, but if you're coming up against a Neymar or whatever, I don't know. I don't know. I just can't see it. Patrick McLaughlin here comes in with actually a left field one. I try Burnaby on the left and Jad on the right once for a couple of goals in front. Again, I think Postecoglou is trying to sign players who can play multiple positions. I think that's a part of his game plan as well, so people can be drafted in or moved up one, or like that's where McGregor could be a 6 and 8 and or 10, and Hatate can play the 6, because we know he's played left back and stuff for his club in Japan. And speaking about Hatate, should we have had a penalty kick, Phil? Because what's in the back again? Anthony Stewart, the centre back, their new captain, Aberdeen's new captain, I should say, fell into one of his own players. His head first into Hatate's feet. Referee, no penalty.
Hitati was the walking wounded yesterday because they were out to get him. They really were. The boy that you mentioned earlier on, the aforementioned Ramadani, was it? The Albanian
Ramadani.
midfielder? Ramadani, yes. Yeah, he was a bit naughty with catching. Did he sort of clip him in the back or something like that? Like as he ran by
the bottom of the spine, just bang.
Do you know that's exactly the same thing that Ramirez did to Joe Hart last year when we played them at Celtic Park? There was an incident in the first few minutes at a corner, and he sort of done Joe Hart in the lower back, and there was that moment of fear where Scott Bain came out to warm up, and everyone was like, "Oh God, no!" But is this a did they teach this in training at Aberdeen or something? But yeah, there was that, and then it was like, well, the referee then stopped. He originally played advantage and went, no, and then just took him over, gave him a stern talking to. And then Hitati, obviously, with the penalty incident as well, which I do think was a penalty. I think it was. And then there was also, he went off injured anyway, where his mouth was all busted up.
I believe. Yeah.
So poor Hitati, they must have watched him in pre-season and went, identified him as the danger man because he was running everything. But yeah, he was the walking wounded yesterday. Not much protection from Nick Walsh in the middle there. But yeah, that one with the when he got done in the lower back, that one in particular really riled many fans in the stadium.
Yeah,
you've played advantage, you've realised there's no advantage. Sure, you need to bring it back now and book him. And I say he was down for ages getting treatment, but no, it was just a wee stern finger wag, a wee talking to. I don't know, let him away with that one. It's like, come on. So there we are. We're only one game into the season, Stephen, and already they're at it. These referees at it, mate.
I really personally don't believe that VAR is going to make much of a difference, especially if it's them clowns that are running the VAR. Do you know what I mean? I would rather appoint officials from different nationalities who can come in, oversee a game, even if they have to watch it. I'm sure you could hook it up a way where you could fill a studio in Portugal or Spain with a couple of referees and put the screens on of the match. And then you could do it that way instead of having like Nick Welsh or Willie Collum or whoever it may be with a crayon trying to predict and give free kicks and be like, that's a yellow card. It should be working like that because these referees for years, as you rightly pointed out, well, it's against us. And I have to be honest, sometimes you see shocking decisions against other clubs. And you look back at that. Remember last year there was a fight, I think it was Tannadice. The player got sent off for protecting himself, or the fan ran on the pitch and he got sent. Do you remember that?
It was Bobby Madden sent off an Aberdeen player. He jumped over the advertising hoardings because of momentum, and as he went to stop, he nudged the ball boy or something. Somebody it was a fan. He bumped into a fan, but he didn't mean it. And then another fan got up and swung a punch for him. And obviously he didn't throw any punches back at the fan. But obviously he had a word with him, and Bobby Madden then gave him a second booking and sent him off. It's like, what the hell?
I mean, Bobby Madden, by all accounts, had a shocker down in England as well. The fans seemed to be on his back quite early on. And again, it does points. I mean, we had a top-level referee, Bobby Madden, in our top league. Now he's refereeing in League 2 in England. That just shows the standard. Do you know what I mean? And we're going to expect these guys to do VAR properly, do the lines and all that stuff in real time. Absolutely no chance. It's going to be like a clown. It's going to be like a show. And then Paul Dye comes in here with a cracking point. Poor Hitati wore a gum shield to protect his teeth and still got busted off.
You see, Celtic fans, you all put the pressure on because he wore a blue gum shield, or you can't wear blue, Hitati. You better get rid of that gum shield. And look what's happened. Shame on you all.
See, to be honest, see that whole blue arc. I don't care. If he wants to wear it, he can wear it. Do you know what I mean? No, doesn't mean he's a Rangers fan. Blue's just blue. Who gives a shit? Do you know what I mean? And then obviously we see the game out and we'll win 2-0 and we're top of the league, aren't we? Yeah, we are. I think that's the final.
Down on the Rangers, mate. Already.
Top of the league, looking down already. So I mean, that's the way it should be. But in terms of the game overall, obviously, before we move into some of the political boardroom stuff, how do you feel it went?
Overall, can't really complain. Say at the most, yeah, we probably could have scored a few more goals, but in the end, it was a routine 2-0 win. I say Ange seems to be giving off all the right messages that there's still room for improvement, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine with me. Yeah, there is, and we just need to get a bit more ruthless in front of goal and just take the chances. Because again, it's going to do us in good stead when it comes to European football when we're not going to get many chances, but the ones that do come up, we need to make sure we're sharp enough to take them. So it's good that Ange identified that. But yeah, overall, phenomenal day, great weather, great atmosphere. Just great to have Celtic back playing competitive football again because we've needed it instead of dissecting all these friendlies and arguing over the silver stripes on home kits and stuff like that. And it's like, some real stuff to get our teeth into now. Come on.
We had to talk about something, didn't we, to fill in them gaps there?
I know.
Do you know another thing that I'm quite amazing about? Our next game's at Ross County in Dingwall, isn't it? And obviously, that apparently isn't on TV. That is mental.
I know.
Mental.
Yeah, they got rid of the streaming service because after the COVID season where you got like the Path to Paradise and stuff, and then when they brought fans back, there was still the option where some games might be on pay-per-view provided by the specific club. It seems like we had a lot of games like that, but Rangers didn't seem to have that. Every time Rangers had their away game, it was usually on Sky, but we had like Aberdeen, Ross County. In fact, the infamous game up at Ross County last year where Tony Ralston scored the last minute, I say, 97th minute goal. That was on Ross County's pay-per-view. And somehow Stephen Cragen still got a gig on that one, even though he's never actually had any connection with Ross County. But yeah, apparently this year that's completely abolished now. So I don't know how most people, me included, are going to see it. It's going to have to be some sort of streaming means out there that I'll need to delve deep into the dark corners of the internet to find. I'm sure I'll find something, but it's not ideal, not ideal at all. So yeah,
it just shows you that how out of touch Neil Doncaster is with people like normal working class people within Scottish football. He comes out today, and the SFA obviously come out and say they're cracking down on illegal streams and pubs and stuff. And it's like these guys, these women, these children, working class just want to watch their club play, and you're making them pay hundreds of £100s for a TV deal that's absolutely abysmal for Scottish football. Well done, Neil Doncaster. And another point, how funny was it to stuck Chris Boyd into the gantry, just coming in with wee comments now and again at Celtic Park? Madness.
See, I've not even seen the TV coverage because I was Sky Plus, but I didn't really even did that. But I just find it ridiculous that Sky always wheel him out in any way to do any Celtic games at all. He should be so far away from any Celtic coverage in any way because he's never getting anything productive or positive to say about our club ever. But Sky just keep on doing it. Again, it'll be controversy, creates headlines. They'll be thinking along that way. Oh, he's controversial, and it's like they'll just think any reaction is a good reaction, and it's like no, not in his case. That is not a good reaction.
Controversial and a shite pundit. I mean, that kind of sums him up. The Granda comes in saying the real test boys have been in the Champions League. Totally agree with that, Granda. You know my thoughts on that as well. But we'll move on to some of the more kind of political boardroom things. And I know some people are probably going to be, not again. But it has to be addressed. I mean, we can't forget the crimes, I was going to say, the issues of seasons gone past and being locked out of the stadiums with cages around it and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we heard on Friday, I think it was confirmed, Phil, that Ian Bankier is going to be stepping down as chairman. Peter Lawell getting his suit jacket ready, his Celtic club tie back on. Is he a shoe-in, do you reckon, for this?
Well, this is the weird bit, Stephen. A year ago, when he stepped down from the CEO position, this was rumoured even back then, and then the story kind of disappeared just at the end of the night. Nobody heard from it again. But now it's came back up, and suddenly there was a bell ringing in the back of my head. Like, I'm sure this headline's been doing the rounds somewhere before, so it doesn't surprise me at all. I just find it really interesting, first and foremost, that suddenly everything's going really well at Celtic, and suddenly they're trying to sneak this one through because something similar happened with the Bernard Higgins one. We were on a decent run. It was a run up to the League Cup final, I do believe. And the Bernard Higgins story had broke, and then they changed their mind at the last minute. I don't know if it's going to get to that level again, if it will be a lot of like fan protests to stop it. But I've seen a few fans online are very much in the camp of, it's all a load of nonsense. It's just the media try to stir it up. Then there's other fans who are kind of like, but worried about this. You just feel like you've read this chapter before. I'm long enough in the tooth now to be down this road with Celtic where when everything's going so well, just something bad, something stupid will come along just the board again proving that they just so much incompetence. I mean, right now, Peter Lawell stepped down as CEO, disappeared, and Michael Nicholson, who'd been there for years, obviously took that CEO place, It was CEO place because Dominic Mackay was the fever dream. Dominic Mackay, who was only there for about 10 weeks and then he disappeared as well. Did he even happen? Nobody even knows. But yeah, it's basically just the same board that was there before. But you get fans going out saying, "Oh, what a job this board's doing! What a job Michael Nicholson's doing!" And it's like it's the same. It's still the same guys. And if Peter Lawwell's coming back in to oversee everything as the chairman, and given it's quite well known from stories we've heard over the years how he would interfere in on-field matters as much as off-field matters. I think a lot of fans are right to be a bit fearful of this one. I don't think it's being negative or anything, try to be controversial for the sake of it, to generate clicks for podcasts and articles. It's not that. I do think there is a genuine case to be a bit fearful if this does come to fruition. So, yeah, I'm very much concerned, Stephen.
Egyptian King comes in with a funny one here, but it's quite relatable. Lawell's like the psycho ex you just can't get rid of until she gets your health insurance. But I mean, you look at this, we had a wee chat off her, obviously, before we come on, and I said it's a bit like he couldn't handle the heat in the kitchen when it was all fire and brimstone. He's had a chat with Desmond, and Dermot's been like, don't worry, in a year or so, I have it in good faith that Ian Bankier is going to be stepping down, so we'll get you back in when we're all going well, and Postecoglou has Celtic back on top. But it's like, does this again go back to the root of the problem? It's like jobs for friends. That's, do you know what I mean? That's what it is. The old friend brigade, the prawn sandwich eating brigade are back again. And it's the same faces, albeit in different positions. Now, Michael Nicholson, by all accounts, to give him credit, let's be fair, obviously, he seemed to be having good handling on the transfer dealings. He's got them through quickly. Postecoglou's even given his obviously stamp of faith as well. Mark Lawell, let's forget about the name connection for a second. He had his own kind of credentials at the City Group. He's come over to us with a great CV. Let's see how he does. But Peter Lawell, for me, it's like once you step away and once you have the problems that he did with them statements that he done on the YouTube channel, looking like he was getting held at gunpoint, rolling out Scott Brown to tell everyone that it's all okay, and Scott Brown didn't even look like he wanted to be there at that point as well in terms of what he was reading. Looked like it was off a script.
Yeah,
it's a deep-seated issue that doesn't seem to be getting sorted out anytime soon.
No, you're right. I mean, I remember the interview you're talking about. That's the Dubai debacle, wasn't it? Where after weeks of silence from the club, somebody finally manned up and said, "Okay, I'll go in front of the camera and speak to them." And yeah, that was just awful from Lawell. It was just like you didn't even answer anything really. You know, it just made it worse, this whole situation, because that was one of the many shambles. But he will forever be, tarred in that whole like the 10 in a row failure. He will always be associated with that, because I think he was always planning on stepping down as CEO, but I think his grand plan was to go out as a hero, the CEO that oversaw the 10 in a row and stuff like that. So obviously it backfired, but yeah, you're right. He probably, with everything being as intense as it was a year ago after that debacle, and there was a bit of uncertainty when Ange came in, and with the players we were about to lose, nobody really knew what was coming ahead. Luckily, it's all fell into place, and yeah, it's just so convenient. He's got out of the kitchen, got out of the heat, and now here he comes back in, looks like it, to take all the glory. But this time, he's coming in a bigger position. The chairman this time oversees it all. The chairman of the board's the top dog. So it's like, it's a lot of fans are, as I say, right to be concerned, man. Very, very right to be concerned. I
mean, Frank Brennan has come in. He's put up a few comments, and I want to talk about this here. He said, is to be fearful about Lawell, for fuck's sake. Of course, he would be my first choice, Eiler, but it only goes to highlight the complete procurity of suitable candidates for the position. Like, see, to me, that doesn't make sense, because I'm sure if Celtic tried to recruit a new chairman, I'm sure there'll be plenty of candidates in that position that will want to come to Celtic Football Club, whether it's from far afield like Italy or Spain or Australia, Asia, Korea, and even England. Even that guy we had on, David Webb, he's a fantastic guy. He's overseeing a few operations at Tottenham, Southampton. There is guys out there. And I've seen a few comments saying if Lawell comes in, it's another step backwards in terms of where we should be as a club. It does concern me. Now, again, this is totally from outside of what I can see. And we're not privy to what goes on in the boardroom. We don't have a seat. There's no fan representation in the boardroom, which I think is wrong as well. There needs to be that kind of voice. But obviously the Celtic SLO does a good job when he can and stuff, and informs supporters of what's going on. But in terms of us as a club, Postecoglou is doing this himself. For me, there's no other kind of way to put that, if you know what I mean.
Yep. I think the biggest concern when I first saw it, and knowing that Ange, he's doing it all himself, right? And as we know about in the past, there's been stories that came out about Lawell interfering too much. And my first fear, and I think many fans have thought the same, was this is a guy who was managing the Australian national team and walked out on them before the World Cup because the people above him couldn't get on with him and couldn't see his vision. I just worry that if Peter Lawwell's back on the scene and starts any of his funny business interfering, try to influence Ange, who's up against it anyway. I say he's pretty much doing most of it all by himself. I really hope it doesn't come to that, and I really hope the worst case scenario doesn't happen. I don't want to say it out loud because, again, I don't want to be accused of generating negativity, but you probably know what I'm thinking. And it's like, I just hope it doesn't come to that. I really, really don't. And in terms of the point about other candidates, I agree with you. When we look at it from a fan point of view, our club has a lot of appeal and stuff like that. But my concern is, and you go back to what I talked about a minute ago, the fever dream, Dominic Mackay, where he came in for that 10-week spell. It did actually happen, folks. We didn't imagine it. He was there. And obviously he disappeared. And it's a case of, what happened there? Was he either just so bad that they got rid of him, or was he just too forward thinking that the rest of the board were like, we've got to force this guy out? So that makes me think that if they looked to an outside source as a new chairman, somebody, an outsider, I just worry with this board, would they welcome him?
You saying that, they're sorry to cut you off there, but I think you make a great point in terms of Dominic Mackay. It's funny, when he left, it didn't take long for the whispers to come out that Peter Lawell had a big say in who was appointed. And then, obviously, as time goes on, even Postecoglou name dropped him a few times as well. So, is it a case of maybe, again, to come back to be a bit counterintuitive here in terms of what other people could be saying? I mean, Michael McDonald come in, I'll get the wee comment here, and said most teams in the EPL would be lucky to have him in a heartbeat, would be lucky to get him. I think that's a wee bit of sarcasm there, Michael, to be honest, but I do get what you're saying. I know, like, he has confirmed that he's rejected the likes of Arsenal going down there. Obviously, he's paid big bucks to Celtic. Like, he's probably one of our highest paid members of staff, and that probably outweighing the manager too. Yes, the whole thing with Lawell is, for me, what he's associated with. For that downfall, for that absolute collapse of the 10-in-a-row season. Yes, he done well up there. He kept our finances under control. Yeah, we can't deny that. We're always making profit. We're making steps in Europe in terms of a brand recognition point, maybe not so much as a club in the football end. But when you're associated with being so out of touch with supporters in that COVID season, when you couldn't get into the stadiums, there was no sympathy, locking the fans literally with metal fences so they couldn't protest or get close to the club, not giving any communication, kind of closing himself off to the world to the extent, just locking that door behind him and letting the chaos unfold. I don't think he should be given any right to come back to Celtic Football Club now after what he done. Yes, you can appreciate obviously the years of success leading up to that and stuff. I'm not trying to be like naive in this. I know he played a big part and people don't like to hear that, but he did. The profit sheet, obviously players come and go, and managers and decisions, stuff like that. But for me, it's time to move on from that. And the more we keep going back to them options, like we spoke about it as well, it seems like him, Lenny and Desmond have this like wee WhatsApp group and they message each other every so often and be like, "Do you want a job?" I mean, that's what it's like. It should not be like that at Celtic Football Club, Phil.
No, you're totally right. And the thing is, as well, I've seen points already come up on Twitter, a lot of people saying, let's not forget the amount of success we had under Lawell when he was CEO. And yeah, there is a case for that at the end of the day, but there's also things like a lack of investment has led to many, like, the managerial departures. You look at some of the along the track record, the board is showing, there you go, I'm playing tells you pretty much, that's pretty much what they're doing, Egyptian King. But you look back to even when Lawell took over as CEO back in, what was it, 2003, 2004, around about there? Yeah. So we were just off the back of the UEFA Cup final. And it's like we were told that, like, Larsson told us at that time after that final that this coming season will be his last season. And even like we didn't even replace, I know we can't replace Henrik Larsson just like that, but we had a whole year to prepare, and we ended up with Henri Camara on loan at the end of the start of the next season to basically replace Henrik Larsson. And then you look at when Strachan then came in after that, and his whole remit was just to get the wage bill down. The investment was there. Neil Lennon's first tenure, like, was all going fine, but he left at the end of the 2014 season because he just got told that the investment wouldn't be there. We brought in Ronnie, who in the second season, we were going signing players like Carlton Cole, Kazim Richards, and stuff like that. So, and then, of course, the Brendan Rodgers debacle, everyone knows about that, how that one went with all the different. So there's a track record there where, it can go really well and stuff like that, but there will come a sour point where it will start, the investment won't be there. It might not match the manager's ambitions and stuff like that, and that is a huge concern, especially now that he would be the chairman, the overall boss, and it's like, oh god. So it does put a bit of fear into me, but I say there is some fans that already try to put the positive spin on it, and that's the thing. Again, as we've seen in the last few weeks with the pylons on social media and stuff, it's all about opinions at the end of the day. If somebody disagrees with your opinion, you don't need to call them a prick or anything, it's just people's opinions. But there's going to be
It's not like we're not recognising his success.
Oh, yeah,
Do you know what I mean? But he played a major part in all the downfalls and the managers you mentioned.
Like there's like yin and a yang to it, definitely. Yeah. There's good points, but there's a lot of bad points as well. So it's like, yeah.
Like Brendan Rodgers, by all accounts, wanted to sign your man Castagna, who ended up getting a Leicester. That didn't go through. There was a player from Valencia, a right back. Was it Ramiro? Who was it?
Piccini. His name is Piccini.
Aye, that didn't go through. And he started making comments about all the board and transfers, and that the Terminato contract thing came out. And then after that, it all kind of unraveled, you know what I mean? And then, what's this? Paul Dagg comes in. Lawell is the panto film and can't blame the CEO for managers' poor signings. But again, he's a part of the investment for them signings. He says where investment goes in the club. And then Frank Brennan comes in. You're getting yourselves all worked up about nothing. At this precise moment in time, you'll have to be perfect. You'll have the perfect fall guy for when we get hammered in the Champions League, and it'll all be Lawell's fault. Again, Frank, I take that totally on board. There is different sides to it, and I appreciate all the sides because it makes for a good debate. I think we can all agree on that, Phil. But we'll kind of move on, obviously, to a lighter-hearted segment of the show, and just to kind of round it off. And a lot of people are wanting to know about the bullfrog last night, Phil, and people wanted to know, why is there no live footage or any footage on YouTube?
Well, I arrived at about 8:15 before the show started, about 8:30. So my understanding was they were going to try and film it. I don't think live would have been an option, let's be honest. It would have been quite tough to get it all, in sync to go live. But if we'd recorded it and maybe uploaded it as a separate thing, but no, that just didn't happen either. But yeah, it was quite bad. So basically what happened in the Bullfrog stays in the Bullfrog. It's essentially going to be that way, but it did happen. It wasn't like Dominic Mackay, as I say. It's just, we all just imagined it. No, it was a good night overall. So we just did like the old PMP post-match pish beforehand, then there was a quiz in the middle, and then a Q&A at the end. So it was a good laugh. But it was fun to just meet most of the Bhoycie Bus team. Hadn't even met in person at that point. There was a lot of, even Russell hadn't met him in person till last night. The only people I'd met in person so far were Mark Kearney, Dale, Regan, Liam Collo, and I think that's all of it. And then, but last night I got to meet pretty much most of the team, and then some of the boys from Endless Celts as well, and a lot of people who comment on both shows. But it was good fun, and I'm sure there'll be another one in due course as well. But I think some of our team need to recover from last night. So I'm a sensible boy. I came home about midnight-ish or something like that. I was so nice and early by their standards, but they were out till God knows what time. So I know there was definitely a pool game going on between Ross and Russell. The challenge was laid down, I think, when we did the quiz between the Endless Celts and the Bhoycie Bus. I'm sure there was some banter back and forth about that one, so they played the game last night. But it was good stuff. But I think there's some phone footage out there. I think a few people had the phones out. I could have been on stage at one point. And
don't release the phone footage.
Oh man!
I think as well, like if you can, like as a podcast, the Bhoycie Bus. If you can get people in the room and talk about Celtic and have a laugh and have fun, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I think you made a great point. If we disagree with people's comments, there is no need to take it onto Twitter or call people out and, as you said, use bad language towards them and things like that. And I do want to point out to the fact as well that we still have Undertaker Below. We've got the Samaritans, we've got Breathing Space, we've got the Scottish Mental Health Charity as well. So if you're in a position where you need to talk to someone, reach out and do that. Otherwise, if you want to, speak to one of us, Bhoycie Bus, the Endless Celts, anyone out there that could be a listening ear. There's always someone willing to talk. And just the kind of round up the show, Phil, the third kit was dropped today.
It was.
So it was, and it looked for me quite nice. I'm wearing the controversial one from last season. I think it's quite
nice one, that one you've got on. I think that one got a lot of jip. And the only thing that I didn't like about that one was the badge placement. I felt was just too low down. I don't mind.
I can't even see it on the screen, man. I'll have to sit like this.
Aye, something about that put me off it. But I think the actual design itself looks quite nice, quite fresh. But I think
it'll be on one of them retro football shows later in life when we're older. I had that kit. No, one of them ones. It's worth money. But what do you think of the third kit?
I quite like it. I mean, I'm all for like going a bit different on away kits because that's what they're for. I don't see the point in having, a home kit and an away kit that are essentially the same colour, especially when there's another team in the league that wear green and white as well. And it's like, So there's been a few times we've visited Easter Road and we've had to wear an away kit from the season before because of a colour clash. So I think it looks quite nice. The because I saw the preview a few weeks ago, and it was like a close up of the badge, and it was like grey, and it was like a neon yellows. People were like, what's this going to look like when it comes out? But no, I think it looks okay. So it's a bit different, of a different colour scheme, going with the neon yellow on it as well. At least it's not like that one from a couple of years ago under New Balance, the grey one with the big pink chevron across the front.
Oh my god!
Oh, the only kit I think Celtic have never actually worn in an actual game. That's apparently the only one that they've never ever worn. So that'll become valuable because of that.
Yes.
Yeah, that will definitely. But I didn't mind see the pink one they did in the Rodgers first season, the one with the pink and black.
I like that. Yeah.
Me being a wrestling fan as well, it's Bret the Hitman Hart colours. So I was like, there you go, pink and black, that goes really well together. But I thought that looked okay. But that grey with the big pink chevron across it, I was like, oh no, that's too much, man. But see, it will now become a cult classic, because it never got worn. But apparently there's a wee detail on the sleeve where it's the roof of the stadium. Somebody said something about that little design that's on the bottom of the sleeve on this kit. Apparently, see how the when you look at the roof of the stadium, you've got like the cantilevers and stuff like that, or the big metal girdle. Apparently, that's what that design is. And I was like, oh, that's quite a nice wee detail. I never even picked up on that. I could have stared at it for ages and went, this looks familiar, but I can't put my finger on what it is. Apparently, it's the roof of the stadium. And I was like, oh, okay, that's quite cool, man. So that's one wee detail.
I think you're right. Like, kits need to be different. Again, go back to the whole kit argument. You know what I mean? It's like, ifs and buts and things. It is nice to have a different kind of kit. And there's a few people saying the badge should always be the same color and things like that, which again, people can disagree about. And I've seen a great comment up the pod. The comments, I'm not going away up. I do apologize, saying there should be some say for Celtic fans in future kits with Adidas and things. I think that would be a great shout. And I liked your wrestling analogy there, because it was Ric Flair's last match last night, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. He says his last match. Don't be surprised if he still comes out again, does another one.
And by all accounts, he won, and so did Celtic. And on that note, Phil, have you enjoyed being on the Endless Celts podcast?
Of course, mate. Yeah, I'm always happy to come and talk about Celtic anywhere. So yeah, I say the Bhoycie Bus they're nursing some hangovers tonight. So I believe Monday club will be a Tuesday club this week, which is understandable. I had a feeling that would be the case. But yeah, no, thanks for having me on, Stephen. I'm more than happy to come and talk about the glorious Glasgow Celtic, mate.
I appreciate you coming on, especially at short notice as well, mate. It's much appreciated. And also the comments and Egyptian King straight off the bat. Great show, lads. If you could hit that like button again and hit that subscribe button, we'd greatly appreciate it. And also to the members, obviously, Kenny McCardle, Kaiser, Kevin 14, they're all in the comments as well. So again, if you want to take advantage of the wee membership option, 99p a month, just get on it. Bit of crack on me. Get that wee emoji beside your name that John's created. But in the meantime, until Friday, when we look ahead to the Ross County game at Dingwall, which some of us may not be able to see, stay well and keep safe.
Hail, hail.